Hey there, friends. I'm about to start working on preparing for a meditation class that I'm teaching tomorrow. Here's my computer. And I want to give you a little behind the scenes of how I think about preparing for a class that I'm going to teach. How long do I prepare? Am I doing this a week before? Am I doing this the day before? What am I thinking about? What am I trying to get across? And so, as I mentioned, the class is tomorrow. So I'm doing this a day before. I did not think about, I did not prepare, I did not plan on what I was going to do. I wanted to set this day as the time that I take moments to really drop in and think about what is it that I want to share. And now I've taught hundreds of classes and hundreds of meditations. And so there's so many things that I've done in the past that I could just say, well, okay, let me just take one of the topics that I've talked about. Let me talk about it, how I've talked about it, and let me bring it to the class tomorrow. And I'm sure it would go well. But sometimes that is not the most aligned thing to do. And it's kind of living in a past energy. So when I think about a new class that I'm teaching, I'm really trying to connect with what is the energy of this moment? What is it that actually wants to come through? Because here's the thing, tomorrow there's going to be 10 or 20 people, not exactly sure how many people are coming, that I don't know. And the universe, God, spirit, source, knows that those people are going to be there. And he, she, it knows that I'm going to be there. And so, what I try to do is to drop in and to really get clear on what feels most alive and present for me to share now. What feels most alive and present for me to share now? And when I do that, when I connect with that, then maybe I'm connecting with that deeper part of myself, that deeper part of myself that also knows who else is going to be there. And that's when I believe when we follow that source of inspiration, and it might not be a big flash, it might just be a thread. It might just be a thread, but we let ourselves create in that space, then we open ourselves to potentially having a really powerful impact. Not on everyone, but maybe that the universe is bringing someone in our path and they need to hear the message. They need to do the meditation that we're going to do tomorrow. So, this is just a foundation of how I think about preparing. And that's kind of a secondary thing, meaning the people that are going to be there. That's why I'm doing it. But it's really about like what feels most authentic for me right now, what feels like something I'm working out or working through. And that's where I'm going to bring the most presence. And that's where I'm going to have the most impact. And so it's coming back to what is it that wants to come through. So that's step one. Okay, so I just started working on the class, and the topic that is stirring in me is around doubt. I like to do something where I have a little personal story that I can share. I've been exploring, I've been having some doubt in my own life around whether I'm meant to be doing work in schools and if that's where I'm supposed to be. And I think as I start to share this, there's this thread that I want to follow, and maybe it can be helpful for others, thinking about other places where I've doubted in my life, where doubt shows up for people. And as I'm starting to write this down, I use a Google Doc, and I'm starting to have doubt, funny enough, in is this useful? Is this actually going to be helpful? And this is where it's really important to not make it about us, because there's a part of me that really wants them to like it. There's a part of me that wants it to be a good experience for them. And when I focus on that, I'm making it more about me than about them. You catch that? I'm making it about my fear of rejection and my sense of getting validation. And if I can notice that as it shows up, I can get out of the way and I can said really come at this like a gift. come at this like, this is what I'm offering. This is not about me. This is what I'm offering. I hope people like it. I hope it's helpful. This is just an offer. I made this here. And coming at it from there, making it about them, making it about the service, about the gift, about the offer. So it's a really important thing because so quickly the mind can spiral into the self doubt, funny enough, and make it about our own sense of feeling validated and not feeling rejected. So I continued with this thread and things started to come. Some sections of what I wanted to speak started to arise. We're talking about doubt, the difference between believing and doubting, how that's of the mind, and then getting into where we want to get to is knowing. How do we know something? Knowing is more embodied. Like, how do you know you ride a bike? And I'm just starting to I speak things as I write things. I'm imagining that I'm actually in a class, and if I'm in a class, okay, well, I'm speaking things as if they were there, and I'm seeing what else comes. And this is my creative process. So here's a litmus test when I know something is resonating. I'm a little bit off of it because I had to change the battery in this camera, but I started noticing myself getting emotional as I started speaking about it. It really started connecting with me as I was imagining speaking that in front of an audience. I started having tears well up, and that's always a sign that you're creating something that is authentic and that is going to actually be felt. Um, so I want to really emphasize that. So as you start creating and something stirs you inside, go with that. That's going to be, people are going to feel that. And that's what's your presence, that energy is really the teaching that you're giving and the energy that you're imbuing. So if you feel some emotion starting to come up, that is a sign that you're on the right path with what you're creating and what you're going to share.
Okay, so next piece is to show you what I've been working on. So it's probably been a little over an hour. I like to use an app called Toggle. And I've been recording these videos, so that probably accounts for the extra time, but probably about an hour. And I've worked on not even the meditation yet. So I have some ideas for the meditation, but I've just worked on the speaking points and things that I want to share and discuss. And so I talked to you about that, my kind of insight or my invitation is an exploration around doubt and belief, and how a deeper part of that is kind of knowing, and we'll talk about what that means, and using some quotes, some teachings from the Buddha, from Carl Jung. A quote or a poem by Rilke reminds me of kind of the essence of what I want to share. You can kind of see it's not right here. It's not as much what's important in me sharing what I'm going to share, because it's not what I'm teaching to you, but just sharing kind of how I think about, and so how I structure it. So introduction, I actually will probably do like belief versus doubt. So these are like talking sections for me. So these help me in my mind when I don't have notes there, and I might have notes there, but I probably won't be looking down at them, be able to share and think about, okay, my, just an introduction to me, getting into the essence, belief versus doubt. That's going to go into knowing. That's the talking section. The antidote to doubt, which is faith, talking about how I see that. And then kind of this exploration of the good, true, and beautiful. And so this is what I'm going to be talking about. And I'm going to try and keep it loose. I have ideas that I just wrote here, but obviously I'm in the moment, I'm going to be kind of just speaking more extemporaneously, but I have a structure. So I'm not going in there with I have no idea what I'm going to say and I'm just going to trust what comes. I'm not going to script my words, but I know where I'm going. I have sections. I know what I want to talk about. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of this essence, and there's a course that I have, I'll link below in this video, that's going to help you come up with ideas for meditations. And I kind of talk about this in that course, but the essence of what I talk about around believing and doubting, around knowing, around coming to faith. So in my meditation, I'm really gonna offer an invitation for people to let go of kind of the mind chatter of belief and doubt, which are of the mind, to come into a deeper knowing, to come into their own experience. Through coming into their experience, I want them to start to see, where are they doubting and how could they find faith? Faith in their path, faith in what they can't see yet. And we're going to use the good, the true, and the beautiful as a way to evoke that within them. So you could see how my talking points become kind of pillars for ideas for how to structure this meditation. Now, I'm not going to go through, like, if I did a meditation where we hit all of these things, it would be a lot. So I'll come back on here and show you what I created as the meditation so you can see how it actually ended up unfolding. But for now, I just thought of, okay, good, truth, and beauty, something that invokes it, something that's kind of like an affirmation, right? Show me goodness, show me truth, show me beauty. So these are just ideas that I might put in the meditation, but I'm not sure yet because I haven't actually intentionally started working on the meditation. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll come back on here and show you what has been created. Okay, so it's about a half hour later and I'm done with the meditation. That is a faster time for me to create a brand new meditation. I would say often it might take 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes it could take 20 minutes, depending on just how clear the structure is and yeah, where the ideas come from. So that's typically how much it takes to kind of get a rough draft. And I just write, I don't edit anything. Like, I do script my meditations out. Obviously, I'm going to be giving this in person, so I'm not going to be reading it. But for me, it just helps to get everything out. And then I can kind of go through it and see and feel in the moment how it comes out in its own way. So you've already seen the talking points. I like to just create a different color for my meditation and then ground. So I decided to use the good, true, and the beautiful. Even though we talked about this in the end, I tried to use this as a grounding way. So I'm going to have people connect to what's true, connect to what's good, connect to what's beautiful. I just thought that that would be a good invitation to use what we talked about and start that to ground, right? The beginning of meditation is always going to be about some kind of grounding. So obviously I'm going to, do posture, slow down the breath, and then get right into using this to continue to ground. So I always use what my talking points are as part of the meditation. It makes it a lot easier to come up with new meditations. And so I thought also to just affirm that I told you before where I might have the affirmation. I am going to have that, I think, right after this grounding part, just to affirm what we just worked through and start from that sense of wholeness. And then exploring doubt. So I'm kind of just going right down what I did. So doubt's up here, knowing is here, and then the antidote is faith. So my meditation, I'm going to go through the same thing. What do I want to explore with doubt? What do I want to explore with knowing? What do I want to explore with faith? And so doubt. From here, I just did a little bit of helping people explore where they're doubting and being with that, having it share its narrative. And then I'm going to be working with some chakra points in each one of these. So I'm going to have them bring the awareness into the third eye, to the forehead, and then from that spaciousness, open up. So they're going to narrate their thoughts of doubt that are of the mind. And then the energy of that is going to kind of expand and let those thoughts just kind of disappear. And hopefully that'll bring them into a deeper sense of presence and awareness around how their thoughts might be controlling them in a way that's not supportive. And so then I'm going to drop from the head down into the heart. And this is, we're going to work with knowing, getting to a sense of knowledge. And I'm going to bring back the poem that I used of Rilke, of how can we actually just live into the questions of not knowing. Because it's by living into things that we start to get a real experiential knowledge. So I'm going to invite them into the heart and kind of do the same thing. So things have a similar feel. We're going to widen the energy in the forehead. We're going to widen the energy in the heart and have them connect using this poem, feeling into the wonder and the mystery of not knowing, of actually being patient to what is unsolved or to what we're doubting, to bring back what we're actually, the word that we're using. And then this last portion, or kind of last portion, is around faith. And so now I'm going to bring the awareness from here down into the lower belly and have them feel just the awareness in the low belly and kind of also reconnect with what is good, true, and beautiful, as that's kind of a way to open to a space of um, faith. And so asking them to trust and I'm going to work with this in the moment, how it comes out. But in essence, to have them, can they see and let go that they shouldn't be anywhere else but where they are, and trust that where they're meant to be is where they're meant to be, and to learn to surrender. And I might think I'm going to use some affirmations to bring that in. I think affirmations are great, and they're just a really simple way to help people kind of embody that energy and notice the resistance that's coming up. It's starting to rain really loud here, so maybe you hear that in the background. I'm not using any fancy equipment, recording equipment for this video, as you can already definitely tell. And then lastly, connecting all 3 points, so the head, the heart, the gut, and just feeling that kind of open energy through the body. And then I like to do this a lot in meditations, is asking for that guidance, that if we just don't know, if we can rest in the not knowing, can we open ourselves up, can we let go to something that is greater than ourselves so that we can be guided. So I'm going to give them some space at the end to just really rest in that. And the space is going to depend on how much time I have left in the class. One more piece on this. I didn't say it in the last video. This class is 45 minutes, and the person who's having me in wants me to do, in the first 20 or 25 minutes, a talk and a discussion. And so a lot of this was my talk. And so I'm just going to have here like a reflection of what's coming up. So often in classes, you might want to inquire with people of like, if you have the time, this is great. Not always you won't have the time, but inquire with people like, what is coming up? What is stirring for you? Or make it really clear of like, where are you doubting? And if they feel vulnerable to share it. Now, sometimes if I would ask that question, and I don't think we're going to have this much time because I have a lot of content to share, I might ask people to pair off and share a little bit about how doubt's affecting their life at that moment. But I'm probably not going to do that. So might leave it more open ended, because I doubt we're going to have a lot of time, because I have a lot to talk about. So it might be a more minimal discussion, but we'll see. I don't know. And there's kind of a surrender into, let's see how it goes in a flow with any class. And so, but there will be a question, and then she wanted a 20 or 25-minute meditation. So getting through this in 20 minutes, it's going to definitely be moving. I would like some more spaciousness, but this is what came. So I kind of just trust what came in my own creative process. And I'm looking forward to sharing this class. So the next part of this video is I will come back on here after I have, well, first off, I'm going to be preparing and rehearsing this tomorrow. So maybe I'll do a video on that to kind of continue this process, and then do a post-game analysis after with you, because I think that might be helpful in exploring. So before my Mac loses battery, I'll sign off here, and I'll see you in a second. Before I get to the next part, I want to let you know that I just launched a course that is going to help you script powerful and evocative guided meditations. It's called Meditation Script Mastery, and it's completely free. You can check it at the link in the description to this video. It is a course that will help you learn how to come up with your own ideas for new meditations, how to make them powerful, evocative, transformative, how to create meditations that are unique to you, that people come back to you for, that helps you to build trust with the people you're serving. Again, it's called Meditation Script Mastery. It's completely free. Check it out in the link in the description, and I really hope you enjoy it. Now, back to my preparation. So it's the next day. This is the morning of a class that I'm teaching tonight at 7 p.m. And what I did after I signed off yesterday with you is around 5 or 6 p.m., I made sure that I went through the class one more time. And the way that I went through it was noting the different points that I have and just running them through my head and seeing if I can not say the whole thing, but just have in my memory where I'm going. I did that both for the talking points
and then also through the meditation. And so, kind of just going through, where do I want to take this meditation, and what is the things that I actually wrote down. So, making sure I'm following what I wrote down as best as I could. And I did that at the end of the day yesterday, even though I was tired, because doing something towards the end of the day, I find when I wake up the next morning, that memory is so much more connected. The learning, the synapses of the brain, however that works, that I'm able to remember it because I did it at the end of the day yesterday. And it's more infused, it's more embodied this morning. So what I did this morning is I just took 40 minutes and I just went through, and I did the same thing again. I went through first the meditation. So I actually have been practicing the talking parts more than the meditation right now. And I find my own insecurity in that when you're in a meditation, you can kind of close your eyes, and if you forget where you're going, it's okay because there's silence within the meditation. But within a talk, if you lose where you're going, everyone's watching you. And so I tend to overcompensate and maybe sometimes spend more time planning and preparing for what I'm going to say because of that factor that people are actually open eyes looking. In meditation, you can get away with more and you can kind of go with the flow. At least I find a little bit more. At least that's how I've always done it. I'm a little bit different now where I feel more comfortable with losing my track and figuring it out. So what I did was I went through the meditation and I tried to see if I can memorize where I was going. Again, this is in person. I don't have notes to look at, so I'm going to have it in some sort of memory. And so I just noted, well, there's 5 kind of core parts to the document that I showed before. There's the grounding. There's us talking about doubt. There's talking about knowing. There's talking about faith. And then there's wrapping it up, asking a question to a higher power. And so I know that there's 5 sections. And so with that, I go, okay, where do I start? And I just start going through it in my own space. I start going through, okay, what am I doing in the grounding? And I remember what I'm doing in the grounding. Okay, good. And I just run through it in my head. I go to the next part. What am I doing in doubt? Okay, there's the kind of 3 pieces I want to get to. Okay, same thing, doubt into knowing. And sometimes I won't remember and I'll be like, I'm not sure if that's right. And then I'll bring up the page and I'll just check it. And sometimes, oh, I missed that. And then I'll try to do it again. And so I'm just running through it in my head. Did it once, did the meditation again. Okay, I ran through the meditation in my head, did that a second time. Then I felt, okay, I have a good foundation for that. And then I did the talk again. So I just ran through talking points, made sure I was hitting certain things, and did that twice. And so I'm just getting repetition. And I'm planning to do this one more time towards the end of the day. That, especially with memorizing, I find that doing it for long periods of time. This probably took me 40 minutes to just run through both of those things in my head and just check where I was missing things. That doing those little run throughs at different parts of the day at different times is really how it starts to seep in. Now, where I've grown a ton and where I want to encourage you to grow earlier than I did is I've really let go of feeling like I need to hit every point or to hit every piece of the meditation, and let go of sometimes I would think in my head like, oh my gosh, I missed that. The audience is going to know, but they have no idea what you planned. And so I've really been a lot more looser, that yes, I have these things I'd love to hit, but as the energy flows in the room, as things start to happen, maybe I say something different. Maybe I totally forget that thing. And it's kind of a trust. It's a trust that it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And maybe what ended up coming was actually what that person needed or what needed to be shared. And the same goes for the meditation, that I used to be really having to hit all the things I wanted to say, how I wanted to say them. And I'm just a lot more free, and that may take practice, but that's just kind of been my journey. So I plan to practice, go through around, again, right now it's 10:30 a.m., probably around 5 p.m. So I have this at 7 p.m. I'll go through it again. And then at that point, it's just kind of, surrendering and trusting that it's going to flow and be whatever. So I'll let you know later on how it went. All right. Morning after, how did the class go? Before I tell you that, I want to share with you my process leading a couple hours up to the class. I had a busy day. I had two clients. I met up with a friend for lunch. I had some admin stuff. And a couple hours before, I was really tired. And so, what I did, what it's helpful for me to really get in the memory of the class, is I took a piece of paper and I had the other class printed out fully because there's a poem that I wanted to share. So I had it printed out fully, but I took another piece of paper and I just wrote from memory key bullet points of where I was going. And this helps me and my mind to connect with the cadence and the flow and connect with my points that I want to share, both in the talking portions and especially in the meditation. And so I did that. I wrote down just outlines, not fully writing the whole thing, but it just helps my mind to memorize. And then I took about a 21-minute, I would call it a nap, but I never fell asleep, but just closing my eyes and allowing things to slow down, trying to relax. And I find that also helps for that work that I just did in memorizing to kind of integrate. So obviously I don't have a whole night's sleep to integrate it, but taking those 20 minutes just before, relaxing, slowing down, laying down, letting that seep in, and then I drove to the class. And it was great. It was a beautiful community with some people that I had seen before in another class, new people, and was a really nice event. About maybe 10 people were there. And it was in a circle, which I always like to feel that kind of communal connection. So it was less me in the front, giving a lecture and whatnot. So when it's in a circle, you get to have a little bit of dialogue in a more connected way. So I was able to weave the theme in a way that felt supportive to other people. Now, I definitely didn't express everything like I mentioned in the way that I thought I might express it. I fumbled over some words, and I've done this enough where I don't let that take me out. I'm able to slow down and just refine my pace. I'm not feeling as much of the fear that I used to feel that might shut me down in those moments. And so it's always a beautiful reminder of just the path of doing this for now about 7, 8 years, doing stuff in front of people, guiding meditations. And so it's always a nice reminder to be in there and say, oh, once my body felt like it was shutting down in this scene, and now I can kind of relax, even though I don't have it all figured out. So at the end, I opened it up for a reflection. I sometimes do that. If it's more of an event, I like to do that. If I'm teaching a class where I'm going each week and it's people I see and there's kind of a normal routine, I probably wouldn't open it up for reflection. So we kind of went a little bit ahead of time. So there wasn't too much time for those reflections. And it was really it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And one thing I didn't do that I would suggest if you are teaching in person classes, maybe not at a regular studio if it's a regular class, but if you're going for like an event where someone's having you, one thing I didn't do, which I don't know why, is have some kind of sign up sheet and simply say at the end, hey, if you would like to stay in contact with me or hear of other classes I'm teaching or things that I'm sharing online, please write your name down and I'll put your email on my email list. This is something I tell everyone to do everywhere they go to keep connection with people that have connection with you. And for whatever reason, I didn't do that. So I would suggest you, if it's a one off type of event or if you're hosting something that is your own, to definitely open that door for people to continue the connection with you. So let me know what you thought of this video and how to prepare for a meditation class. What did you like? What did you want more of? What is still not clear for you? Please let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And I so appreciate getting a chance to share with you on this journey. Lots of love. We'll talk soon.